Oh, welcome back, my butterfly of silence. Wings soft enough to touch, power sharp enough to change fate. They thought the chaos would drown you, that the noise, the uncertainty, the endless storms would make you lose your step. But chaos made a mistake. It chose you as its battlefield. And you don't run from storms. You study their rhythm. You watch them spin. You learn their patterns. And then, you move. Because somewhere between destruction and silence, something in you shifted. You stopped reacting. You started calculating. The same noise that was meant to distract you became your signal. Every argument, every betrayal, every piece of uncertainty, you rearranged it like chess. You didn't fight chaos head-on. You absorbed it. You let it teach you the laws it never understood itself. Chaos has no strategy, no patience, no order. But you built an empire out of its fragments. People around you didn't notice at first. They thought you were lost. He's quiet, they said. She's distant. But that wasn't distance. That was precision. The silence they mistook for defeat was the sound of someone rewriting the rules in real time. And then, slowly, the balance shifted. Conversations that once controlled you began to lose power. Environments that once drained you became irrelevant. The storm realized, too late, that it was being mapped, move by the one it tried to consume. Oh, how it tried. It screamed. It threw everything it had, but you no longer played in its tempo. You became the stillness within it. The calm at the center of the storm that bends its own rules. That's when people started noticing the way you walked differently, the way your eyes didn't flinch, the way your silence spoke, because silence, when mastered, becomes strategy. And now, every time you move, the world adjusts. Every word you say feels like a code they can't decode. They whisper, something changed, but they can't name it because they don't understand. Chaos never defeated you. It trained you. At first, the noise tried to own you. Every whisper, every judgment, every doubt in the back of your mind. It all screamed louder than your purpose. You used to chase silence, thinking peace was the absence of chaos. But one day, you realized peace wasn't quiet. Peace was control. You stopped running from the noise and started listening to it differently.
You heard patterns inside it, motives hidden behind words, truths beneath lies.
You saw that people's chaos wasn't random. It was predictable. It had a rhythm, a pulse, a weakness. And the moment you noticed that, you started to smile. Because you knew they weren't just chaotic. They were transparent. They reacted out of fear, ego, and impulse. But you started responding out of awareness, patience, and calculation. That's when you flipped the entire board. The same noise that used to distract you now became your signal system. Every insult revealed insecurity. Every delay taught timing. Every rejection showed redirection. You built a private code from public noise. While they screamed to be heard, you learned to decode the silence between their words. You learned that chaos has one fatal flaw. It can't sit still. It exposes itself through motion. So you slowed down. You became still, and in that stillness, you saw everything clearly. You began to understand that silence isn't empty. It's full of answers no one else can hear. Now when they speak, you don't react. You calculate. You're not silent because you're unsure. You're silent because you already know. Your silence makes others confess things they never planned to reveal. They fill the space trying to understand you, not realizing they're revealing themselves. That's the beauty of your new design. You turned confusion into clarity. You turned chaos into structure. You turned every noise into information. And now, every time you walk into a room, the air shifts. People don't understand why, but they feel it. That quiet gravity, that heavy awareness that you're not part of their noise anymore. You're operating above it. You've become the calm presence that unsettles the loudest voices, the quiet observer that sees the cracks in every system. And soon, even chaos itself will hesitate before stepping toward you again, because it remembers what happened last time. Oh, there's a moment when silence stops being defensive and starts becoming offensive, when your stillness no longer feels like waiting. It feels like commanding. That's where you are now. The silence that once felt lonely is now authority. The same people who mistook your quiet for weakness now feel uneasy in your presence. They can't explain it, but they feel it. That invisible control, because silence in the hands of someone awake is the loudest power there is. You've learned that most people talk to fill fear. They move to escape thought. They brag to mask insecurity. But you mastered the art of restraint. You trained your emotions to obey strategy. You learned that reaction is the enemy of power. So now you don't react, you respond. And that single shift changed everything. You started to notice how noise exposes desperation. You began to see how real power moves, not with volume, but with precision. You became the one they can't predict because you no longer broadcast your intentions. You became unreadable and therefore unstoppable. Now when they speak, you let them. Every word they say gives you more insight, more leverage, more data. They rush to fill the silence you created, never realizing they're building your advantage piece by piece. You've turned patience into a weapon sharper than any rage. You learned that in every conversation, there's always one who talks and one who listens. And the one who listens controls the outcome, because silence collects. It gathers patterns, emotions, truths. And when it finally chooses to speak, the world listens. You don't argue anymore. You don't chase validation. You let results do the speaking. You built a system where energy obeys your timing. And now people can feel that shift. They sense that your silence isn't distance. It's design. It's you moving under the radar while everyone else burns out under the spotlight. You've become that presence that changes the atmosphere. Without a single word, without a single motion. Your power doesn't announce itself. It's felt. You are proof that silence isn't empty. It's full of direction, full of decisions no one else can see being made. You no longer walk into rooms seeking approval. You walk in as the storm that already decided the outcome before it began. And deep down, they know it, because silence doesn't need to convince anyone. It just owns the moment. Something shifted, quietly, almost unnoticeable at first, but now, everything around you bends differently. The timing, the coincidences, the way doors start opening just when you stop forcing them. That's not luck. That's your frequency aligning with your focus. See, when you stopped chasing, destiny started listening. When you stopped screaming for results, the universe leaned in to whisper them. Because energy doesn't follow panic, it follows certainty. You began to understand. Chaos was never your enemy. It was your teacher. And oh, it taught you well. You learned to sit inside the storm without begging it to stop. You learned that real power isn't about controlling everything. It's about controlling yourself when everything falls apart. That's when destiny takes notice. When you stand there, calm, eyes focused, while everything else is trembling. That's when life realizes you're not reacting to the system. You've become part of its code. Every time they doubted you, every silence they mistook for surrender, you were rewiring outcomes. Behind the scenes, in the shadows, in the hours no one saw, every sacrifice became an algorithm. Every heartbreak, a calculation. Now things happen for you, not to you. People call it coincidence. You call it design. They think it's magic. You know it's mathematics, because the same mind that learned to survive pain learned how to program reality with precision. They try to read your moves, but you already moved 5 layers above the board. You don't compete for validation anymore. You operate on vibration, and when vibration aligns with vision, reality obeys. Now every no becomes a redirection. Every delay becomes a test of your patience, and every test only sharpens your dominance. The game isn't about being first anymore. It's about being inevitable. You've become the quiet equation they can't solve. The moment they think they've figured you out, you've already rewritten the rules. Because power isn't loud, power doesn't need attention. Power just happens. And now, you've reached the point where even destiny knows. You're not playing for approval. You're here to bend timelines. And oh, they can feel it. Every move you make ripples through their plans. You've become that presence the world can't predict, but can't escape either. Funny thing about resistance, the harder they pushed against you, the stronger your focus became. Oh, you felt that, didn't you? That shift, that moment when their doubts started feeding your fire instead of extinguishing it. They thought they were slowing you down. Nah, they were unknowingly training your precision. Every obstacle, a lesson in disguise. Every betrayal, a redirection wrapped in pain. You didn't crumble, you converted. You took every ounce of chaos and refined it into control. That's the part they'll never understand. You never fought against the storm. You learned to flow through it. Because here's the secret no one admits. The universe doesn't hand power to those who demand it. It gives it to those who prove they can carry it in silence. That silence of yours, it wasn't weakness. It was weaponization. When they stopped hearing you, they assumed you were gone. But nah, you were becoming something else. They didn't see the sleepless nights. They didn't see the mental rewiring. They didn't see you tearing down the parts of yourself that didn't belong to your future. You became your own blacksmith, hammering identity out of raw endurance. And now, you're standing here, calm, dangerous, unshakable. The same people who underestimated you can't even look at you the same. Because you're no longer running on emotion, you're powered by strategy. Every breath measured, every word calculated, every silence deliberate. They still think you're reacting, but deep down, you know. Every move you make has already been designed. Your presence alone now carries the weight of 100 unspoken lessons. Oh, the irony. They used to mock your patience. Now they call it mystery. They used to question your vision. Now they call it genius. Because that's what happens when your evolution is internal. By the time the world notices, it's too late to stop it. You're not chasing power anymore. You are power, wearing human form, and every person who once doubted you. They're starting to realize they weren't dealing with a dreamer. They were standing in front of a calculated prophecy. You turned resistance into rhythm, and rhythm into rule. You noticed it, didn't you? That strange calm before things started. Aligning. Oh, yeah, the air changed. The same world that once fought against you now moves with you. People call it coincidence. You call it calibration. Because deep down, you know, this isn't luck. This is your energy syncing with reality itself. Every step you take hums with quiet precision. Now, you didn't just survive chaos. You tamed it. You turned storms into symphonies. And now, the universe keeps time to your beat. You speak less now, but everything you say echoes. You act less, but every move lands exactly where it should. That's not magic. That's mastery. That's what happens when your inner world becomes so focused that the outer world has no choice but to obey. It's almost poetic. They used to call you delusional. Now they call you visionary. But you don't even need their validation anymore. You've crossed that invisible line where presence itself is power. When you walk into a room, energy rearranges itself. Conversations pause, eyes shift. Not out of fear, out of recognition. They feel something they can't explain, and that something is you. You're not chasing influence anymore. You're emitting it. You're not reacting to the system. You're rewriting it quietly, move by move. And here's the wildest part. You don't even have to prove anything. Your silence does the speaking. Your patience does the damage. Your focus does the talking. The ones who once looked down on you, now they're trying to decode you. They whisper like you're a mystery, but in truth, you've just evolved beyond their language. That's what power really looks like. Not loud, not desperate, not chaotic, but subtle controlled, inevitable. Because real power doesn't shout. It vibrates. It bends the timeline to its rhythm and makes destiny blink first. You see, when your vision becomes unshakable, reality stops resisting. It rearranges. At first, they tried to ignore it. They told themselves, it's just coincidence. But deep down, they felt it. Something in the air shifted when you arrived. You didn't raise your voice. You didn't demand space. You just stood there, still composed, and somehow the entire direction of things changed. Their plans unraveled. Their confidence shook. Their control slipped right through their fingers. And the most unsettling part, you didn't do anything. Oh, they'll never admit it. They'll call it timing or fate or luck. But you know better. Your energy rewired the pattern. Your presence spoke a language their logic couldn't translate. They used to walk into rooms believing they owned them. Now they hesitate because something invisible tilts the scale your way. It's not intimidation, it's recognition. Even their instincts whisper, don't move against that. That's the moment it all changes, when your stillness carries more weight than their words. When your focus shakes the walls louder than any shout. You became what they can't categorize, a force that moves without motion. You're no longer reacting to their games. You're playing a different kind of chess, the kind where your silence is the checkmate, the kind where your calm becomes the storm. It's funny, isn't it? How the same people who once laughed at you now watch you in quiet confusion, because they can't find where the power shifted, but they know it did. You taught them something no one ever told them, that dominance isn't volume, it's vibration. It's how deeply your spirit resonates. When the world expects you to fall apart, and you don't. That's the kind of power they can't teach, the kind they can't steal, the kind they can only feel when you walk past. Because now, you're not just present. You're everywhere they can't stop thinking about. It starts small. A pause in a meeting, a shift in a gaze, a whisper cut short. But the effect? It's massive. The rhythm they built for themselves begins to misfire. They can't plan like they used to. They can't predict like they once did. You don't push. You don't pull. You tilt. And the world tilts with you. Moves rearrange. Outcomes shift. Even luck starts looking like strategy because your presence pulls threads they can't even see. They thought power was noise, speeches, orders, applause. But what's happening now isn't noise. It's quiet. It's subtle. And that terrifies them more than any roar. People start checking their words around you. They edit their sentences midstream. They look at you before they look at their own leaders. Instinctively, they feel a recalibration, and here's the part they can't explain. Reality itself starts lining up with your focus. Paths open, obstacles shift, timing aligns, and they're left wondering, how? Because you built something invisible, not just discipline, not just patience, but a presence so sharp, it cuts through chaos without a single blade. A strategy so deep, it bends circumstance without a single demand. That's why their loyalty flips. They don't even know when it happened. One day they were doubting you. Now they're protecting you. One day they were resisting you. Now they're defending your silence like it's their own shield. And you just stand there, eyes steady, heart slow, because you know the truth. You didn't force them to move. They moved because the field changed. And you are the field. It begins quietly, a shift you almost don't notice. The ones who once whispered against you now whisper for you. They don't call it loyalty, not yet, but their actions betray them. They pause when you speak. They guard your pauses like secrets. Meetings feel different now. The air is thick with a strange mix of tension and reverence. Their eyes don't hold suspicion anymore. They hold a flicker of recognition. They're realizing what you are. Not a rival, but the axis everything revolves around. They start moving pieces without being told. Doors open before you reach them. Information flows in your direction. People who doubted you now repeat your words like a code. And still, you've said almost nothing. The shift is complete. It's not fear anymore. It's something heavier, respect laced with awe. They've watched you stand still while storms collapsed. They've watched you choose silence while noise devoured itself. They've seen tactics fold around your patience. Now, without even meaning to, they begin protecting your stillness. They speak on your behalf when you're not in the room. They defend your decisions even when you don't explain them. They start shaping their lives around your rhythm, because your rhythm works. And here's the twist. You didn't ask for it. You didn't demand it. You didn't sell them on it. You simply became it. Strategy hardened into presence. Presence hardened into gravity. Gravity so strong it pulled even your critics into orbit. By the time the world notices, the roles have reversed completely. The doubters have become your shield. The skeptics have become your signal boost. The ones who tried to cage you now form the walls around your throne, not to hold you in, but to hold everything else out. They don't even call it following. They call it survival. They call it sense. They call it respect. But the truth is simpler. You bent reality without a word, and reality bent them with it. By now the shift is irreversible. The room doesn't move unless you do. Their strategies, their whispered plans, their frantic maps, all of it orbits you like debris around a star. You didn't crown yourself. The gravity of your discipline crowned you. Doors that once slammed shut now stay open at a glance. People who once tried to read you now try to protect you. Even your silence has become a language they translate for each other. One glance from you can end an argument. One pause can redirect a plan. And still, you remain calm, steady, breathing slow while the world accelerates. You don't gloat. You don't proclaim. You simply are. That's what terrifies them and comforts them at the same time. You became the proof they needed that power can come from stillness. In corridors, they whisper your name like a compass point. In meetings, they adjust their tone when they speak of you. In their minds, you've become something between a warning and a guidepost. They know you're not just another player on the board. You're the board itself. And here's the secret you've known all along. This was never about control. It was about clarity. Not about taking their crowns, but about making them see that crowns were illusions all along. And once you saw that, you stopped playing. The game started playing you. Now overnight, the doubters have become guardians. The critics have become believers. The ones who tried to write your ending have begun quoting your beginning. And you're still moving like a whisper, shaping outcomes without raising your voice. You turned chaos into strategy. You turned silence into a weapon. You turned presence into a power they can't measure, only feel. And in doing so, you didn't just change the game. You became the proof that the game was always yours to begin with. That's how legends are born. Not with noise, not with force, but with an unshakable center that bends reality around it. And as they stand there now, watching you move with that quiet precision, they finally understand. They didn't follow you out of fear. They follow because the world makes more sense when you lead. And that is the power no crown, no throne, no title can ever grant. The power you built from nothing but patience, discipline, and the courage to remain still until the storm passed. Now everything they built points back to you. The game board isn't broken, it's been rewired, and you're the one who holds the current,